I work with a lot of smart business owners that have made great decisions in growing their business and have been very smart about the risk they were willing to take, when they were willing to take those. However, I've also seen these same smart entrepreneurs and business owners make a very poor decision in the sell-side advisor that they choose to help them sell their business. So what's going on here? Stay tuned as I talk about what a bad sell-side advisor looks like and how you can make a good decision about whether or not it's right to hire one. If you do, what to look for when you're making that selection process. First off, we're not as biased as you might think. I'm not here to trash on all the sell-side advisors out there. 50% of our deals have been proprietary, meaning no sell-side advisor. I will tell you that the deals that are proprietary by far take the longest. And the reason for that is because we as the buyer in those circumstances oftentimes have to educate the seller on a few issues. Now, I will also tell you that the deals where we've lost the most money have been proprietary deals, because what has happened is we've gotten into the process. Yes, I'm committed to sell. Yes, I'm committed. We get further down the pike, further down, and then, oh, you know what? I don't think I'm really ready to sell. So for those reasons, it's not always the fact that we want a proprietary deal above all else, because with a deal where the seller has retained a sell-side advisor, we know that the seller is committed because they're most likely paying that sell-side advisor or retainer, and they've signed on the dotted line, so to speak. I've seen sell-side advisors perform all sorts of shenanigans when it relates to financials. For example, I've seen sell-side advisors confuse expenses that should have been capitalized, and they think that they should be added back to EBITDA even though they didn't show up on the income statement, or all sorts of maneuvering in terms of CapEx and whatnot. Similarly to faulty projections, we also have circumstances where add-backs to EBITDA are hard to justify. I've talked to sell-side advisors and they say, well, we really should add this back and add that back and add that back. And you ask them why, it's like, well, if you just look at this, that wasn't really a fair representation. And you say, well, a fair representation based off what? They just want to increase EBITDA so that the purchase prices increase. Unfortunately, that just isn't a worthy enough justification. Another example of a quote-unquote bad sell-side advisor is not understanding that different size deals are going to have different market terms. So for example, in smaller deals, sometimes working capital is an addition to purchase price, whereas in the lower middle market and beyond, working capital is included in the purchase price. I've worked on deals in both, where a larger banker or broker was working on a smaller deal and the terms got mixed up and whatnot. But what I would say is it's typically more harmful to a deal when a banker that primarily works on Main Street or S&B type deals moves up to the lower middle market and expects there to be an addition to purchase price for working capital. It's often a huge sticking point, and one that the sell-side advisor should educate his client that this is what's to be expected. The first look that a prospective buyer is going to have into your business, besides a non-confidential teaser, is what's called a CIM, or Confidential Information Memorandum. I've seen great CIMs, and I've also seen terrible CIMs. What we have learned is that even though there are some bad CIMs, that doesn't necessarily correlate to the quality of the business. However, in thinking about effective marketing of your business, do you really want your prospective buyer to have to dig in and have a desire to learn more? Don't you want that to be front and center? I certainly would want that. So reviewing the marketing materials for how your business is going to be portrayed is incredibly important in finding the right buyer for your business. A lot of smart business people make bad decisions in who they hire. They end up with a mediocre sell-side advisor, and that harms the process, not only in terms of the potential proceeds, but in terms of finding the right buyer for your business. If you don't have a good sell-side advisor, you might be able to get a price that's attractive, but I would make the argument that you're going to have much less choice in terms of the fit of who you're going to go with. Because if the sell-side advisor doesn't execute an effective process, you're probably not going to get the best of both worlds, and you're either going to have the right buyer at a lower price or a higher price with not a buyer that really fits with your culture and whatnot. The other takeaway is that if you can form a relationship with a buyer, you're going to get much more attention on your business than you would if you are simply marketing your business through a process. It's going to take a longer amount of time, but regardless, having those relationships are effective because you at least get a feel for what potential buyers are like, what questions they ask, and whether or not the relationship that you've started to build with this individual is one that you potentially want to continue after you sell your business. The reason why this option is preferred is because if you sign up with a sell-side advisor, there's no getting out of it. Well, at least not for probably a 2-year period. The other takeaway is that if you have a strong opinion about whether or not you should hire an advisor, don't let me dissuade you or persuade you to go a different path. If you definitely think that you need to hire an advisor, please do. Just do your diligence whenever selecting that advisor. If you have a strong opinion about whether or not you want to hire a sell-side advisor, why is that? What are your assumptions as to why you should or why you shouldn't? I think that many people form those assumptions, and those assumptions are what drives the decision. Maybe it's, I'm gonna get taken advantage of if I don't have a sell-side advisor, or this or that. If you go back to the heart of this video, the assumptions are really thrown out of the water if you hire a bad or mediocre sell-side advisor. And don't just go with the advisor that's going to promise you the highest valuation, because that is a sales tactic that is probably not going to result in the best decision.